So many great things going on. And today I love it because it's Triumph Tuesday. It's a day where we get to kind of share and kind of talk about all those great things that you or we or the world or whatever it may be is either triumphed over from last week and or in the midst of a triumph, which is pretty cool. But good morning, everyone. This is Carol Sue, AKA Naughty Boss. Got to move my mic over a little bit more. Good morning, everyone, with TwoSistas.
Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Janice, aka Wellness Diva 5.0. And there is always something, excuse me, to triumph over. As many of you know, I cough a lot. And I just want to bring this up because I really want to know if anybody has any. I've tried like every remedy available. I've talked to my doctor several times. I have what's called extreme dry mouth. So when I talk, I cough, and I'm just getting so annoyed with it. Just one of those things. And I guess if that's the worst thing and a bad hair day that I have to complain about, I'm doing absolutely fine. But just personally for me, it's annoying. So if anybody has any type of remedies.
Good morning, Sandy. You keep going, but I'm going to say good morning, Sandy. But what I do want to say with that is I've heard that gargling helps, but also not only gargling, but using coconut oil, which I know it's going to sound a little gross, but it's an old ancient Indian or whatever thing that they did, which stimulates from a natural perspective, and you have to kind of swish it in your mouth for, they're saying 10 to 20 minutes, which is a long time to swish. You don't want to use a lot. But what it does is not only help with the bacteria levels within the bad bacteria levels that are within your mouth, but it also kind of soothes that, because some of it does seep down into your, inevitably it's going to kind of go down to your throat a little bit. Not that you want to swallow it, you do want to spit it out. And they say to do that for 10 to 20 minutes. And after, you want to make sure that you rinse your mouth out with just warm water. You don't want to use any like Listerine or anything after that. And it just, I don't know, it's supposed to like help with that. So I don't know if you want to try that, or if you've tried that, I don't know. But that's my suggestion.
Well, thank you for that suggestion. No, I have not tried that. So I will certainly try it.
Right. And I guess too, it's kind of one of those things where you're probably more self-conscious about it than anybody even realizes that you're doing it. So, I think for some people, for some it's allergy related as well. There's a lot of, obviously, summer months is not always the best time. I do know you also have a wood burning stove. So in the wintertime, that definitely probably doesn't help, which is hard because a lot of people are finding alternative ways to heat their homes, obviously, because of the cost of things. So I think maybe, I don't know if you've also tried a humidifier, adding, humidity into the air. Maybe the air is just too dry for your throat too, is my other suggestion. Okay, let's see. She's saying oil. Okay, great. Sandy says oil pulling. That's what it's called. I could not remember the darn name. Thank you, Sandy. Oil pulling helps to draw from your sinuses and balances your oral pH. But I also do believe there's also some, which that is correct, there's also some benefits of, because some of that oil seeps down into your lungs to help kind of soothe the dryness of your throat. So that's supposedly one of the kind of the side benefits of it as well. But I also think, getting a humidifier going to add humidity versus taking humidity out, or maybe that's dehumidifier is taking the humidity out. You want to add some humidity. You need moisture. So there's all kinds of different apparatuses that you can even actually put on your desk, like a smaller thingy. I don't know what you call it, but it spits out some.
So I guess I am triumphing over getting amazing new tips on how to combat this issue. So thank you to Sandy. This is great tips to go by.
Oh, absolutely. I love it. always good to get great tips from our viewers, because sharing information and asking questions is one of the key things. And I think people are really triumphing over that, talking about what's going on in our world regarding, what we're constantly listening to, regardless of whether, even if you don't watch the news, you get the news alerts and everything about the vaccinations as well as the masking and asking the questions. And there was I gotta find it. There was a great quote that a friend of mine posted. Let me get to it. And it was so perfectly stated, because a lot of times people get they get confused, those that are, say, not, quote, towing the line or, complying. That seems to be a big word. So the quote is actually from Claire Craig, who is a British pathologist. And she says, science is always a series of questions and the testing of those questions. And when we are not allowed to ask those questions, then the science is lost. And I thought that was so on point, because so many people that make choices for themselves, which, we are blessed that we still live in a country that's a right of ours. And we hope that never, ever, ever goes away. It's part of our Constitution. Seem to get a little bit more snarky to those that make a different decision. And I think at the end game should always be, just because people are questioning something doesn't mean they're anti something. So a lot of what you're hearing is a lot of people that sadly, have this deep driven fear of what is going on in our world and have made a choice based on that fear. And if that works for them and that soothes that fear, I think that's a good thing. But there's others, myself included, that does like to ask the question, before I make a decision, I want to make sure that I'm fully informed. And right now, and I can only speak for myself, I don't feel like I'm fully informed on certain things to make that decision for myself. Therefore, I have that right as part of my First Amendment right to speak or whatever, but also just to ask questions. Because when you ask questions, that means that you really want to dig into the reasons why something is or something is not. And that's how you are able, logically, to make an educated decision for yourself. So I don't know where the shaming now comes from, because that's what's going on. Shaming's another big word. Bullying's another big word. I'm so overdone with all these words. But anywho, the shaming continues through news sources, through even people that you engage with on social media. Like, why don't you just do it? Do it for the good of all. Well, you're asking a question, and it's your right to ask that question. I'm not asking you why you made your choice for your decision. I respect that. I don't have to agree with it, but I still respect that it's your choice. So the same courtesy is not going both ways. And how do you triumph over that going forward? And I triumph over it by staying postured and still going back to exactly what this particular quote says, that's how you lose science, you lose knowledge if you say you're not allowed to ask questions. Questions how you learn. Sometimes it's not going to, we already know that. Sometimes it's going to be an answer that you don't want to hear. It might prove a theory or perception or opinion in your mind that is now you realize, oopsies, I was so wrong on that. And that's okay. You learned something. So you're correcting how you think about something. But to now go ahead and berate people, bully people, just because their choice is different from yours, how do you triumph over that? And I triumph just staying postured and understanding. And I keep bringing it back to them as, why are my questions so annoyance to you? I'm not asking on your behalf. I'm asking on my behalf.
Well, right. And then I think the other issue too is it's more of, and I know that we've obviously chatted about this before, I respect everybody's decision to do what they feel is right for them, even though I may not agree with it. It's not for me to make that decision. It is also not for me to insinuate my beliefs, or it's not their job to insinuate their beliefs on what they think I should do.
Mhm.
And I think it's just ballooned to so much more because of all of the do as I say, not as I do type of rhetoric going on with the government and certain people in the government, certain people having parties, there's just too much of that going on. So there's a lot of, there's not only that going on, but there's confusion with it. Because if you are not allowed to ask your medical provider or question people, by the way, such as Dr. Fauci and Dr. Collins, that are public servants, we should be allowed to ask those questions.
Absolutely. And I think part of the questions comes from different information that's being released. That's part of the problem. And I don't think people understand when you constantly are changing the narrative. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Wear a double mask, wear a triple mask, don't wear a mask. Not necessarily wear a mask, wear it indoors. Oh, now you got to wear it outdoors. Like, part of the reason why people question things is because the narrative keeps changing. And we're not talking about, oh, after 4 months of studies, we decided that what we told you was incorrect, because there's no accountability. They never are accountable for their missteps ever in whether it's who's ever in front of the microphone when they're giving this information. You never hear them circling back to their original narrative and saying, oops, after 3 months of doing research, we said A, B, and C. Well, guess what? We made a mistake. It's actually D. That's part of the problem, number one. But number two, the other piece to it is they change the narrative every other day. So that's why people are confused. That's why people are asking questions. And also, in addition to that, yes, you should be, Sandy. Sandy says she's uneasy with mandates. I would be too. I mean, when you think of a mandate in the sense of what we're hearing about, it's a scary time, because with a mandate, you are giving up freedom. And that's not what our country is based on. So again, people are questioning these things. And I actually had an interesting conversation with some friends last night, because they were obviously concerned about one of the mandates that they're talking about is with travel, with the airlines. And, my take on that, and I will be the first to say, I hope I'm wrong, but think about all the chatter that's going on regarding mandates and traveling and vaccination passports in New York or whatever. It always reminds me kind of, the person that cries wolf. They do it for a specific reason, to put fear into other people, leave you guessing, are they really going to do it? Are they not? Or is it deflecting from something bigger that's going on? And I actually think it's a combination of both. And this is my opinion, a combination of both being, because what's everyone talking about? They're all flipping out and freaking out, because the other piece to that people don't know, which is part of, I believe it's going to be some tax or part of the infrastructure bill or something. They know that if they mandate vaccination passports for travel, guess what they're going to be doing with vehicles? A lot of people don't know that this is going on, that they're going to be keeping track of your mileage. And most likely you're going to be taxed a little bit higher, because they know people will resort to the vehicle to get from point A to point B. A lot of people don't know that that's going on, but it is going on. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Do I actually think that they're going to do a vaccination passport? No, I don't. And that's a far stretch. And I understand why people will say, no, that's what they're leaning towards. How can you say that? I think more what's really going on is the hype of the fear. They're getting the narrative and the people of the citizens of the United States and probably elsewhere this uneasy feeling of the mandate, the fear of, oh my God, how am I going to travel? What's going on in our world, our country, we're not going to be allowed to leave our homes. They're getting the fear hype up so high. And to me, it's almost like it's a carrot that they're dangling. Let's see how much fear, if we get them in so much fear, they'll comply with all these other things. That's my take on it. I don't know if I'm correct. It's just something that, I chatted about last night. And I hope for the world's sake that they wouldn't be playing around with people's emotions, but we know that's probably not exactly.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's go back to March of 2020 when I believe it was Fauci. I could be wrong. So I just want to make that perfectly clear, that said, oh, let's give it 14 days to flatten the curve.
Yeah.
And we're what, 513 days into this? Yeah, I kind of have a problem with that. And when you're constantly changing the narrative to silly putty it to maybe substantiate the point that you're trying to get across, meaning the fear, there's too much fear out there. And now you're adding in all this other stuff. And let's go back a couple months when the person occupying, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue over there said, well, if you do this, you can have hot dogs on July 4th. All right. Like, what? There's too much BS and take the silly putty. And I just want to take the boomerang and go, phew. In fact, remember that, I think it was you that posted it in the family chat there. That was freaking hysterical.
Humor. In the midst of all this fear and the unknown, the uneasiness, the constant narrative changing, humor, you have to have some humor in some of this, because not that the situation is a laughing matter. So I don't mean, I'm not taking light of that. That's not what I mean. But you need a chuckle here and there, because laughter, we know that laughter helps you triumph over that uneasy feeling. Laughter helps release really good endorphins, which is good for your whole body, your health and wellness. So there is something to say about a good belly laugh. And, sadly, if it's at the expense of the circus that's going on in DC, so be it. We didn't, the people didn't create the circus. The people that were elected are not considering any of their constituents in any decision that they're making. I understand now it's up to 18 Republicans that are going to go along with this first piece to the infrastructure bill, which I believe is at 1.8. And then there's like another 2.7, which is, I can't remember what they said. Was it 30,000 pages, 10,000? I think that this particular package is like 10,000 pages. But then this second piece to the, that they're kind of meandering in as part of this bill or infrastructure bill, which is like the part 2, I guess, is like 30,000. That's what they're predicting. And the weird thing, well, not the weird thing, most people don't understand, because who wants to go through 10,000 pages? Well, the people that we elected should be going through the 10,000 pages. That is less than 25% of the bill, the pork, the dollars, is actually has to do with infrastructure. The other 75% has nothing to do with infrastructure. So I don't even know why that would be a good question to ask DC. Why do you call it an infrastructure bill when it's not even a quarter of the money that's going to be used for infrastructure? Don't you think that would be a great question to ask? Not that we would get an answer, of course, because we're just the minions. We're just the little American minions. We have no say in it. Yeah. So how do you triumph over that, Jan? How would you, knowing the mouthful that I just gave you of what's going on and what we're chatting about, how would you specifically triumph over that? What would you do to like get over that fear? Like Sandy's talking about, this uneasy thing about mandates. She's so nervous, and I agree with her. There's so many people that are right in her shoes. I am not in fear of it, because I truly believe and that they're playing this crazy fear game.
I do believe that they are playing a fear game that is evident to me, but how I would get over it or how I would deal with it is just one day at a time. If I want to go to an establishment that I know is going to require me to wear a mask as soon as I walk in, and then I'm able to take my mask off when I sit at the table, then that's what I do. That's what I choose to do. If I travel to Philly again by myself on the train, I have to wear a mask. I'm mandated to do that. Of course, I am going to do that. Personally, everybody knows I hate the word mandate. So I have to take that in context of what am I willing, for me, not for anybody else, what am I willing to do to get where I need to go or to do what I need to do. I am not going to let fear dictate what I am going to do in either situation. So I just go with the flow as to what is happening. But for me personally, I will never ever mandate or insinuate how I operate to suit somebody else's needs. I just won't do that.
Right. And a lot of people have asked me because they know I think I'm about to take my 29th flight or 30th flight. I don't even know. No, I've lost count since this whole pandemic started. And a lot of people are astounded by that. And they say, how do you deal with the whole mask issue? And I said, easy. You know, I personally do not wear it at the airport. I wear it at the gate. I've never been questioned, and there'll be maybe a time where I will be questioned. It's important to me to get to that destination, which usually when you're taking a flight, it's important for you to get to that destination. Of course, I'm going to adhere to, I'd rather use the word adhere to comply, because comply just sounds so communist in my brain. So I would adhere to that. But I also am pretty flexible because, you know, I crack up, you know, I've been on flights where literally I was the only person on a flight in the very beginning of the pandemic. I was the only one on the flight, or one of three. Sometimes it was one of five. But the first probably 6 flights, nobody, you know, everyone was really in lockdown mode. So I've seen it from that perspective, and to be at an international airport, one that is so big that there's nobody around. It's deserted. It's a very strange and odd feeling. I've kind of documented that journey, which I'm still working on finishing documenting, and I don't know when the end date is because it kind of depends on what's going on with the world. But anywho, you are allowed to lower your mask to eat and drink. That is acceptable. You are allowed to do that on the airplane. So my suggestion would be just make sure you're eating and drinking as much as you can. Hold it depending on, you know, the time and hours that you're on that actual flight. Of course, there's bathrooms so you can relieve yourself. I would be eating and drinking the entire time, and I have. You know, because I'm one where I just do not think it's healthy to have something over your face at all times. Now, again, it's appropriate in the right setting. That is a very clean, sterile setting, which would be an operating room. We know that. But we also know that there's plenty of medical professions that disagree with what the CDC and I think it's the NIH are recommending. There was a great doctor, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, I will find that information out, who just did a presentation recently talking about that very item, which a lot of people have been sharing. Of course, they've had to rename it because of, you know, big tech doing their old C thing. Yeah, C thing. I'm gonna say S first. Sounds like something, but it's something else. So I'll leave it at that. But there are ways that you can make it work for you, you know, to take that break with wearing the thing over your face while you were in flight. I was really, you know, you had mentioned what was going on at Martha's Vineyard this weekend. I have no issues with, you know, somebody celebrating their 60th birthday. It is a big milestone. And I don't even care that the island was inundated. I truly don't. It was outdoors. You know, everyone's like, do as I say, not as I do. Of course, that goes on anywhere. So I don't have an issue with it. Again, was anyone arrested? Because there are some things going on in the state of Massachusetts, so nobody was. The local government didn't seem to really have a big problem with it. And, this is par for the course. So I'm not going to waste my energy talking about that, because there's bigger and better things and more important things than talking about someone's 60th birthday party. But it is a big milestone. So kudos, let them celebrate, do their thing, and whatever. It doesn't interfere with my life. I don't care, whatever.
Right. And, I feel the same way. That's certainly, it is a milestone and awesome. And that's awesome. I think where that may come into play is that I think he's 44 is when you support who's presently at 1600, but you do something like that. It is what it is. So
does he really support? That would be another good question.
Well, yeah.
I firmly believe that family that's in Martha's Vineyard, while they're part of the vicious cycle of some things, they realize that there's a circus going on in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue as well. I mean, I don't know the one person that doesn't unless you are totally blind. So yeah, there's a circus in town.
Yeah. There's a circus in town. So happy birthday. Happy 60th.
Yeah. Rock it out.
Yeah.
Which he looked like he had a blast, and you know what? Kudos to him. He had a blast. It's irrelevant in my life, and I don't really care.
And next year we will be in California for our niece's birthday, which is a couple days after my 60th.
Like, you should not even have a pout on your face. That's a number, and you don't look that age.
That wasn't a pout.
We talk about everyone who says that, you don't look that age. Well, what is 60 supposed to look like is what I ask. But, oh my God, you look so good for your age. Well, thank you. What am I supposed to look like at 60? In my case, 63. I don't know. Are you implying that 63-year-olds look bad or 60-year-olds look bad? I think that's kind of funny. I mean, obviously take it, it's a nice compliment.
Right, exactly.
Like, what is somebody 60 supposed to look like?
Absolutely. And on that note, Triumph Tuesday, always triumph over those small victories, the mini victories, the big victories. Share them with everyone and know that you can make a difference on a Triumph Tuesday. Tomorrow we will be going on at 9 a.m. We do have a guest and we're really excited to have her on. And my name is Janice, aka Wellness Diva 5.0, and I'm with TwoSistas, and this is Carol Sue, aka Naughty Boss, about to get some movement on. I hope you guys try whatever that triumph is. Remember what we always say, doesn't matter how big the triumph is, it's still big. Even though you think it might be small, celebrate it. Celebrate it that you did good, that you worked through whatever you were like trying to push through, and that's a triumph. We all should be celebrating each other, because when we're all celebrating each other, that puts us in a good mood. We feel excited, and guess what? It's the driving force that moves us on to the next stepping stone to have another triumph. So you guys have a great day. We will see you tomorrow with that guest at 9 a.m. for Wellness Wednesday. You guys have a great Tuesday. Take care. Bye, everyone.